Hello, Econ students. This is Mr. Hannaford. I wanted to go over the practice that you did on absolute advantage and comparative advantage of a very simplified way of figuring out the absolute advantage and comparative advantage of, for these examples. As you can see here, there are 3 examples here, and I am just going to go over the first one. I do have the answer key located in the folder as well for you to check your answers. But just to recap, absolute advantage is a country's ability to produce more of a given product than another country can. All right. Comparative advantage, as we can see up here, is the ability for a country to produce a product relatively more efficiently or at a lower opportunity cost. All right. So countries and individuals should specialize in producing things in which they have a comparative advantage in, and then trade with other countries that specialize in something else. Therefore, the trade is mutually beneficial. All right. So comparative advantage is the reason for why countries trade. I'm going to say that again. It's very important to know. Comparative advantage is the reason for why countries trade. All right. So let's look at example number 1. All right. We've got the United States and Mexico, and the 2 products that we have here are avocados and oranges. So let's look at question number 1. What country has the absolute advantage in growing avocados? Well, the answer is Mexico. Okay. We can see here that Mexico produces 90 avocados. The United States produces 60 avocados. 90 is bigger than 60, so Mexico obviously has the absolute advantage in growing avocados, right? They can produce more of that product. Okay. If we look at question number 2, what country has the absolute advantage in growing oranges? So again, we're looking at the country that can produce more of that product. Okay, so we can see here that Mexico produces 70 oranges, the United States 60 oranges. Right, so Mexico produces more oranges, so Mexico has the absolute advantage in oranges. Okay, and a country can have an absolute advantage in both. As we can see here in this example, Mexico has an absolute advantage in both avocados and oranges. Okay, now I'm going to give you guys a real simple way to figure out comparative advantage. Okay, so let's see here. What I did is I took 90 plus 60, and that gives me 150. Okay, so that combination of 90 plus 60 gives me 150. All right, and now I'm going to look at the other combination. I've got 60 plus 70, and that combination gives me 130. Okay, now we're going to be looking at all output problems with comparative advantage. So with output problems, we're always looking for the bigger number. And even on your test, if you see any questions about comparative advantage, it's going to be an output problem, and you're always going to be looking for the bigger number. So we can see here, obviously, that the combination of 90 plus 60 gives me 150. This 150 is bigger than 130. So this is the combination that I really want to focus on to figure out comparative advantage. So I even circled this in a dark blue color here, just so that you guys can visualize this. But when we look at this, number 3, what country has a comparative advantage in growing avocados? Well, when we look at the combination of 90 plus 60, that 90 is circled here, and who is producing the 90 avocados? Well, Mexico is. So Mexico has a comparative advantage in growing the avocados. So basically what that's saying is Mexico is going to specializes in avocados. They are going to focus on growing avocados, and then they're going to trade those avocados with the United States. And then number 4, what country has a comparative advantage in growing oranges? Well, that is going to be the United States, okay, because that number 60, that is what the United States is producing in oranges. So the United States has the comparative advantage in growing oranges, or in other words, basically what I'm saying here is that the United States should focus on producing those oranges, and then they should trade those oranges with Mexico. All right. Hopefully that clarifies the absolute and comparative advantage for you. If you have any questions, again, you can always join me on my Microsoft team meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 2:30. Have a great day.